Welcome back, everyone, to Watcher of All Things. My name is Kiki, and this is my podcast where I talk movies, TV shows, and all things entertainment. And today, it's a special one, much anticipated episode. It is episode 31, where we're going to be talking Alien Romulus, the new installment in this long-coveted historical franchise, Pillars of Hollywood, a movie I was very much looking forward to for a while. We're going to get into it, get right in the weeds. How does it compare to the other Alien movies? I hope you're all having a wonderful week. Happy Monday if you're listening to this on the Monday. I hope you had... Oh, I can hear my dog moving around upstairs. I bet she's going to come downstairs. It's been a good week. It's been a good weekend. Yeah, lots to talk about today. There's lots of news. We had D23 last weekend, so lots of Marvel, Disney, Pixar stuff. We're getting like Incredibles 3, Toy Story 5. It was pretty much all sequels. I think there was only like 2 original projects announced, really, or 2 or 3. We'll get into that and into the news. There is timestamps below if you want to avoid spoilers or if you want to avoid Alien Romulus discussion altogether. Just go ahead to What Else I Watched, because I got lots to talk about there, because I did watch lots of stuff while I was on vacation last week. And I saw a couple movies this week, including Borderlands and Trap, where I will talk about in What Else I Watched. But timestamps below, all that good information. Let's get right into the news. All right, the first piece of news actually came from D23, and although it hasn't been officially published online, there's tons of, cam footage and people recording on their phones of the Daredevil Born Again trailer, which, damn, I'm actually very excited for this. So a little bit of background about Daredevil Born Again. Originally, they were going to bring Daredevil into the MCU with like a complete reboot. They were going to kill Karen and Foggy Nelson, but they, filmed a bunch of episodes of the show. It did not test well. People were not liking it. People at Marvel and Disney were not happy, so they scrapped it and they reshot Daredevil Born Again and they rewrote it as just a continuation of the Netflix series, which the Netflix series is good. I can never get through the 3rd season. I don't think I have watched the 3rd season, but it's a very solid show. And they showed a trailer for Daredevil Born Again, which is going to be coming in 2025, and I think it looks phenomenal. It actually looks really good, really entertaining. It looks like a really interesting spin on the Netflix show. It looks like Kingpin and Daredevil are kind of going to be working together in this new season against a larger threat, and it just like brings everybody back. It brings back Foggy Nelson, Karen Page, brings back the Punisher as well, like John Bernthal is back as well, Michael Gandolfini as Daniel Blade, Genya Walton as BB Urich, and Artie Frushan as Buck Cashman. So it's like lots of new people, old people, everybody's coming back. It's looking pretty wicked. Like we've already seen Daredevil in Spider-Man No Way Home and She-Hulk, which he was good in both of those things. Like I think Charlie Cox is just a very good Daredevil. He just plays this character really well. So I'm very excited for him to come back, and I think within the MCU they can get a lot more comic booky with the character and really let him, I don't know, flourish. I like that they're bringing Bullseye back. I like that they're just like bringing everybody back from the Netflix series, because everybody is just super solid in that show. So I'm very happy about that. We also see a new character like White Tiger or something like that. The suit looks really cool. I have to say the costumes look good. Like I'm actually very excited for a Marvel project, which feels weird. Like the only thing I've been able to get excited about Marvel wise has been Guardians of the Galaxy 3 and Deadpool and Wolverine, but that's just because I knew there was going to be cameos. So I was just curious what it was going to be, even though I think the movie itself didn't turn out very well. Like it's not a rewatchable movie at all. I doubt I will ever watch it again, to be honest. Like I've never gone back and watched the Spider-Man No Way Home with the 3 Spider-Man, just because when you watch it at home, there's just like dead spaces where it's supposed to be crowd cheering and stuff like that, and it's just weird watching that after. But Daredevil Born Again coming out, I think it's early 2025, looks really great. I'm excited for a possible partnership between Daredevil and Kingpin, seeing how they, continue the new characters in fresh, inventive ways. But that wasn't the only good Marvel trailer we got. I mean, just quickly, Captain America, they showed more Red Hulk. They showed Harrison Ford transforming into the Red Hulk. It looks really good. I like how bright red and goofy he is. Like they didn't try to tone him down and make him like colorless. I like that they just really embrace he's a Red Hulk. They give him a hairy chest, so that looks good. But the Thunderbolts trailer, which as well was not shown like to the public or posted online, it was all just people on their phones recording the trailer and putting it online. And I have to say, it actually looks kind of fun. Like I don't think it looks amazing, out of this world, crazy, but it looks like just a fun kind of Ocean's 11, a bunch of crappy people team up together. Alexei, the red, what's his name? Red whatever, who's played by David Harbour. He looks like he's having a lot of fun in this movie. I like his relationship with Black Widow, Yelena. I like this basically Dark Avengers team. I think Wyatt Russell in particular, I really like what he did with the character in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. That show going back is very fun until the finale, and I like what they do with the pressure of Captain America, and I'm excited to see how that pays off as well in Captain America Brave New World. Is that what it's called? Brave New World? I'm curious if Wyatt Russell shows up in that as well because of Falcon and the Winter Soldier, but Thunderbolts, it actually looks really decent as well. Like, we also get Bucky coming back, which I love. Sebastian Stan as Bucky Barnes. I think he has been so great in every movie he's been Bucky in. The weird one is Sentry was originally going to be played by Steven Yeun. Due to scheduling conflicts, I reported that a while ago that he had to drop out. So instead of Steven Yeun, it's going to be played by Lewis Pullman, who was in Top Gun Maverick. He played Bob, and it's funny because his nickname in this as well is Bob. Robert Reynolds, his nickname is Bob, who plays Sentry. So looks very interesting. We also get, like, who's the phaser from Ant-Man and the Wasp, the second one. I can't remember. No, not Quantumania. Whatever the second one was. It looks decent. It looks like a pretty low stakes heist movie, which I like. I want more Marvel stuff where not every movie has to be the end of the universe, the end of the world. I kind of just like some lower stakes heist stuff. Like, I think the next Avengers movie should have been something much smaller and like just New York City based like the first Avengers movie was. So this looks really fun. I think D23, even though it was all sequels, I would definitely say Marvel had a very strong D23. I think what they showed is very promising. I mean, the Kang Dynasty stuff, all the Kang lead up has just not worked, and I think the multiverse for the most part has been a failure and has not worked, but I'm excited for maybe the new direction they can take things in. This just looked like a lot of fun, and I'm excited for Red Guardian, David Harbour, to just be able to joke around and have some, it looks very like classic Marvel comedy. So the next news that I was very excited for was Matt Johnson, who did Blackberry, is going to be doing an A24 Anthony Bourdain biopic, and I've talked about it 100 times. I hate biopics. I think we have too many, and they all just like really hype up the person, but given who's making them and who is in them, I think I can still get excited for them. Like, I'm excited for the Bob Dylan, Timothée Chalamet movie, whatever. That's going to be interesting, but I'm very excited for Matt Johnson's Anthony Bourdain biopic because it's Matt Johnson and I really enjoyed Blackberry. But also, who's playing Anthony Bourdain? It's Dominic Sessa from The Holdovers. I really loved that movie. It was in my top 5 last year. I just think this is going to be a very interesting, like, I don't think it's actually known what part of his life they're going to be following, but you know, World of Real and lots of people online are saying that it's probably going to be like throughout the 80s when Bourdain was an executive chef in Manhattan, but became an overnight sensation after publishing his bestseller, Kitchen Confidential Adventures in the Culinary Underbelly. I'm excited for that. I think that could be a very interesting project. I love the energy of Blackberry, how in your face it was, and I think that's how Anthony Bourdain is in a lot of his stuff. So I think Matt Johnson is a very good pick to do that, and Dominic Sessa kind of does look like a young Anthony Bourdain, so very good choices. And the fact that it's A24, I think it'll be, you know, A24 doesn't necessarily mean well made, but I think they have a lot of good creative choices and ideas. So this is weird, you know, 3 pieces of news that I'm actually excited for this week. Usually there's like one story every week that I report on that I'm like, oh Christ, this is going to be terrible and I'm not looking forward to this. But no, I actually am excited for all these. And, you know, D23 also had some other stuff. I don't know, Avatar. We got the 3rd Avatar movie name, which is Fire and Ash. I think I talked about it last week. I'm not a huge Avatar fan. I think like visually and creatively, they're very cool projects, but I think story-wise, they're very bland and kind of boring. And they're just very subpar writing, dialogue. Everybody talks like, it's very George Lucas-y talk, like who would actually speak like these? And the fact that they have Sigourney Weaver playing a teenager in the second one when she's 74 in real life. Weird. But speaking of Avatar and James Cameron, he is apparently working on a new Terminator movie, and he couldn't really talk a lot about it, but I think it was at D23, or no, he's speaking to the Hollywood Reporter, and he kind of just said he's working on his own Terminator stuff, and it's totally classified. I don't want to have to send out a potentially dangerous robotic agent if you were to talk about it even retroactively, is all he could say. There were, I think it was 2 years ago, he had mentioned there were discussions to direct the next Terminator movie, and he said if I were to do another Terminator film and maybe try and to launch that franchise again, which is in discussion, but nothing has been decided, I would make it much more about the AI side of bad robots nuts, gone crazy, which I really like. I haven't seen the Terminator movies in forever. I think I've only seen the first two. For some reason, Judgment Day always plays at my gym whenever I'm there. Like, it's just like constantly on the TV, Terminator Judgment Day. I think James Cameron, all he's working on at the moment is Avatar, and he's like already read the scripts for 4 and 5, I guess. And Michelle Yeoh is in the 4th one, even though she was cast like 10 years ago in the Avatar movies. So that's cool. I am kind of excited about that he feels a need to go back. I think if you have the original filmmaker feeling like they have more story to tell, I would rather that than a lot of the times it goes on to maybe a filmmaker that's not suited for that franchise. If James Cameron, who I think is a great creative, although he's very like, I don't know, he doesn't seem very pleasant as a person, I think if he feels the need to go back and tell more story, I would be very happy to watch another Terminator movie with him. The final piece of news, Lakeith Stanfield from Atlanta, and I think Get Out was the first thing I ever saw him in. I love Lakeith Stanfield. I think he's absolutely hilarious and a very great actor. He is joining Jennifer Lawrence and Robert Pattinson in Die My Love for Black Label Media and Excellent Cadaver. So the film is set in a forgotten, remote rural area. The story follows a mother who struggles to maintain her sanity as she battles with psychosis, and it's unknown who Lakeith Stanfield is actually going to play. There are some heavy hitters in this film. I'm very much looking forward to it, and the fact that it's like Marty Scorsese as a producer on the film, at least, I think at least there's lots of good creative voices in this. I'm looking forward to that. I think it's going to be coming out next year. I would say probably late 2025, but Lakeith Stanfield has worked on lots of good projects. Like, he's done The Book of Clarence, he was in Disney's The Haunted Mansion, and he was also in The Changeling, which was like an Apple TV drama. But I mean, Get Out is what I know him from. I will never forget his role in Get Out. If you haven't seen that movie, he's the first person that's abducted at the start of that film, and then we meet him like once we get introduced to the family. He's one of these black men that they've abducted and put their brainwashed, because he didn't have the surgery. He just like was brainwashed. Anyways, remember, he gets the picture taken of him and starts freaking out at the family gathering and telling Daniel Kaluuya's character to get out. So I think that about does it for the news this week. I was going to talk about the Kraven the Hunter movie, but Jesus Christ, I think it looks better than, Madam Web or Morbius did before it came out. I just watched Nando's video on it, and I was like, okay, I'm glad he agrees. It definitely, you can tell from the last trailer where things were reshot. Like, go watch the Nando V movies, Kraven the Hunter trailer. It's really interesting, the stuff he talks about, and he makes a really good point that Sony, in every movie they've put out in these Spider-Man universe things, I don't know, the way they sequence their trailers is exactly the order that things happen in the movie. So the fact that they ended the trailer with like the Rhino fighting Kraven, it does indicate to me, and as Nando highlighted, they probably shot that in reshoots because they were like, oh, we should add like a fight where they fight each other, because maybe like the teaser of the end of the film was going to be, ooh, in another movie we're going to get Rhino versus Kraven instead of like just the introduction of Rhino in this film. Those Sony movies are so strange. Like, when I saw Borderlands the other day, they showed the Venom trailer before. I get that the Venom movies are like fun, but it looks bad. It actually does look bad. I saw the first Venom in theaters. It was okay. I think the second one was not as good. The third one just looks really dumb. I don't know. I'm kind of over the Sony Marvel stuff, and I'd like them to just stop and just work on the Spider-Verse movies, which, Jesus, I mean, those movies are probably still 2 to 3 years away. Like, Haley Steinfeld says she has not done any work on it, I don't think, and the main actor who plays Miles says he's only started just doing voice work. I can't remember. He talked about it this week, and it does not sound like that movie, the next Spider-Verse movie, is far along at all or started very much. So yeah, Sony, oh my god, they got to get it together, and I think they just need to defer all of their characters to Disney or whatever. I think that's going to do it for the news this week. As I said, timestamps below in the show notes on both YouTube and all the streamers if you want to go straight to what else I watched to avoid all Alien Romulus discussion, or if you just want to hear the non-spoilers. Yeah, I think that's about to do it. Let's get into Alien Romulus. Alien Romulus is a 2024 horror sci-fi film, an hour and 59 minutes. It currently has 82% on Rotten Tomatoes and an 84% audience score. Its Google's in a nutshell is harrowing, dark, suspenseful. It is directed by Fede Alvarez, who did Evil Dead Rise, I want to say, the newest Evil Dead movie. Distributed by 20th Century Studios, of course, under Disney. Its budget was $80 million, which, like, for a new Alien sci-fi film is pretty good, all things considered. considered. Cinematography by Galo Olivares, which was just phenomenal, and of course it is the 5th installment in the Alien franchise, not including the Prometheus prequels, which I did not watch before this. The film itself stars Kaylee Speeney as Rain, David Johnson as Andy, Archie Renault as Tyler, Isabella Merced as Kay, Spike Fern as Bjorn, Aileen Wu as Navarro, and they play sort of our, main crew in this film. And every Alien film has had its variation of crews that we follow, and this is a much younger crew. The synopsis is, while scavenging the deep ends of a derelict space station, a group of young space colonizers come face to face with the most terrifying life form in the universe. So, Alien Romulus, a new, exciting installment. I've talked it to death for weeks. I think I mentioned it's one of my 5 most anticipated films in the rest of the year, and this was extremely fun, and I seriously enjoyed it a lot. I think there's so much great stuff about this film. There is minor things that really did bug me, or I thought felt a little forced and heavy-handed, but for the most part, this is, great performances, really great writing. It's so well-paced, the film, like you're enjoying every minute. The designs are amazing. I wouldn't be surprised if there were some Oscar nominations for this film. This is such a great entry in the Alien franchise. So let's start with the cast, of course. Kaylee Speeney, the actress I have been hyping up for months, from Civil War, Priscilla, now this. I cannot wait for her in Knives Out 3. She is a phenomenal lead in this film. She is so good as Rain, as our new Ripley in some ways, I want to say. She just has so much subtlety in her performance, which I really enjoy. And this is what I really like about this film, as well as it feels so close to the first Alien film tone-wise. Like, just in the performances, it feels extremely subtle, and it's not trying to go the Aliens route of cheesy assholes in the crew, It's kind of just one asshole in the crew, and the rest are just trying to get their job done, which I really enjoyed. But Kaylee Speeney, I had no doubt she was going to be phenomenal in this film, and she seriously delivered for me. I loved her performance so much. David Johnson as well, shout out to him as Andy. He plays a synthetic human, and he is just so phenomenal in this film. He has a lot to do. He plays a synthetic human that doesn't have as developed motor skills, I guess. It kind of like, it's almost like he's a human with a learning disability. He is a synthetic human that has sort of a learning disability and doesn't have the same motor functions as other synthetic humans. So, Kaylee Speeney's Rain character has to sort of take care of Andy sometimes, even though he is a very good synthetic human, and still, his directive is to take care of Rain. So I think their relationship and their performances against each other, or balanced against each other, just gives so much greatness to this film that I really enjoyed. And it's just a stellar supporting cast. I seriously thought everybody was really great in this film. I mean, Isabella Merced was so great as Kay. Everybody gets really great moments in this film, which I really do enjoy. You don't leave the theater saying, "Oh, I wish we got a lot more from that person," because it feels like everybody did have a moment to shine. It speaks to the quality of the script, and that it lets the crew, like that first Alien film, the whole crew has their moment. Great performances throughout. I'm gonna stay no spoilers, of course. As I said before, there's timestamps if you want to go straight to spoilers, or if you don't want to know absolutely any details about the film, you don't want any impressions, skip ahead, because there is so much to unpackage spoilers wise in this film. The whole third act is such a huge swing, and we'll talk about it in spoilers. The design of the film is, I think it's one of the best designed films I've seen this year. I've now seen 33 new films for 2024, and this one, along with Challengers, Furiosa, and Dune Part 2. This is right up there design-wise, looks-wise. Cinematography is so gorgeous, like just the lighting. I saw this in IMAX, and the natural lighting of the room and not like trying to add too many filters and post-production and cinematography just really makes it feel like a classic old movie, like the 80s and 70s, which I just like. The designs of the ships and the world they're on when we're introduced to them because they're from this mining colony is just so good. good, and it's not one of those films where it's so dark you can't see anything. The whole film is dark pretty much, but the lighting is just so great and uses shadows so well. Seriously, the whole movie, I was just in awe at the designs. Like, the sets just feel so immersive, and it's so refreshing to see a film like this and not be like, oh yeah, that's green screen. That's the volume that Disney loves to use. Fede Alvarez has talked about how much practical work and figurines and the miniatures and animatronics was used, and I absolutely buy it, because this film is one of the best visuals this year that I've seen. Oh my god, I was so blown away. I do want to go see it again. I think I actually will go see it again if I have time this week, if not next week. And if it's still playing in IMAX, I will go see it in IMAX, because holy shit, there were some gorgeous shots in this film. I'll get more into it. The xenomorphs. People always want to know about how do the xenomorphs look in the Alien films. Dare I say, maybe they're the best looking they've looked in any of the films because of the lighting use, and I think the animatronics and the mechanics that they're able to use have just grown over the years and improved since that first Alien film, which that first Alien film still looks extraordinary. And same with Aliens. Like, both the two first films still look really great and hold up really well to me. But this one just feels like it's really brought it to present day and is using the benefits of our new technology to its fullest. There's not tons of xenomorphs and facehuggers in this. I have to say, it really does go down the Alien route, that first film of Ridley Scott's philosophy. Don't show the villains and the aliens too much if you want to do a horror film, because, it's like exposure therapy. The more you are exposed to something, the less scary it is. So the more we're looking at these xenomorphs and the facehuggers, the less scary they're going to be, or less shock. And there were some major jump scares in this that didn't feel cheap and felt extremely well done. So I was very happy with the designs and the effects. The sound mixing is so good. Like, at one point, someone dropped something down like an elevator shaft or something. I can't remember what it was. And you can hear in IMAX around the theater, you can hear whatever they dropped like bouncing around, and you hear the sounds at the different parts. Or maybe it was like a hallway scene. But I just noticed that in the theater. That was like, damn, that was like fully surround sound, and just the mixing and the coordination with the theater in IMAX. So great. Like, if this got Oscar nominations for sound mixing and sound design, as well as, visual effects, I would not be shocked at all, because it is so gorgeous. And same with cinematography. Like, this was just one of the best looking films I've seen this year, and it looks so natural and in camera and so untampered with. How everything looks is so in person and in camera, and it would truly look and feel like that, as if we're there with them. And a lot of the great, visuals and camera work as well comes from the director. I think Fede Alvarez absolutely knocked it out of the park directing. I think this isn't a spoiler, they do a new interesting thing with zero gravity within the ship, because these ships, they like once in a while they have to purge the zero gravity once ships are decommissioned. So there's this really great scene, and I won't say no spoilers. I will not say what's happening in the scene, but it goes zero gravity in the scene, and when you're watching a movie, it feels like the camera is anchored somewhere, or you feel grounded in a film. Like, okay, I know what's up and what's down, what's left, what's right, but the camera starts spinning in zero gravity, as well as the characters and everything in place, and it feels super disorienting. Like, I was almost dizzy in the theater, because I was like, oh god damn, like, what is the floor and what's the ceiling, what is what? And that just goes down to the great directing. But also, the directing really brought back the horror qualities of the franchise. Fede Alvarez really did want to go less just 80s action film, and let's go back to the roots and do a sci-fi horror film. And I think that really pays off here. This is just a masterfully made film. And yes, I do have problems with it, and we'll get into legacy sequel or not legacy sequel, but you just have to admire how well made this film is, and how just for $80 million, the fact that they were able to achieve all of this, it feels like such an independent, homemade film in the best quality way. Like, I mean that in the highest compliment. If real people writing real things, like after seeing Borderlands, this is just such a palate cleanser, and I do think this is a film that I will definitely revisit, because not even, as an amazing film, like story-wise, because, there are parts of the story that I think are just rehashing old things, but just I think to study filmmaking, this is such a great film to study, and there's so much great technicality in it, both in the directing, the visual effects, all of the world building, writing-wise, and also the performances. Like, there's just so much greatness. And like I mentioned, world world building briefly there, but I think the film itself does a great job pacing itself. And like I said, it goes back to really the first Alien film. The world building in this first 20 to 30 minutes of this film, I want to say, was really enjoyable. Like meeting Rain and Andy on their mining colony. She's not from there, but she's working there, and she works in this mining colony, and she's trying to get off planet. I just really liked how it introduced us to the world. It doesn't feel overbearing with a bunch of exposition and forgettable science mumbo jumbo like we have in a lot of films nowadays. Like, what was I watching recently where I said there's just way too much sciencey talk? I can't remember what it was, but this just felt very refreshing and simple. I actually did get reminded a lot of Blade Runner 2049 watching this. Like, it feels like such a new and fresh, inventive legacy sequel, just regular sequel on a classic. And although I do think Blade Runner 2049 was probably more successful in the sequelization, if that's a verb, of Blade Runner, this is still like such a great continuation and adaptation of this world, because this film takes place in 2149 or something like that. So it's between Alien and Aliens. I think it takes place like just after Alien. And I just really like how it embeds itself in this world that we're so familiar with and that we've adored for years. And it just feels like a natural entry. And I'll save, the big swings that it takes in the third act, because this film goes very ambitious in the third act, but I won't say what, of course. But yeah, world building and introducing of problems that these characters have and their dynamics are just all really great. I think the character dynamics are just so well introduced in this film. They don't feel over the top, aggressive, overstimulating like they did when I watched Aliens, which, Aliens is a product of its time, I think. That sequel that James Cameron did in 1986, just being in the 80s where everything is super stylized and fast paced, and it feels a little overbearing now going back and watching it. Whereas these characters are like complicated like the characters were in Aliens, and they give each other a hard time and they have issues with each other, but it feels much more, slowly introduced in a more meaningful manner that we can really get a taste of each character to understand who they are, why they're doing this. And I just really enjoyed that approach that Fede Alvarez took of like, no, we need to really take our time like that first Alien film did, of introducing our friendships, our perhaps disagreements between our characters and their flaws, what they're good at, what they're not good at. I just enjoyed, again, the world building of this film was seriously brilliant. And just like the building of tone in this film as well. Like I said, this is really a match for match of Alien. Like, it goes way more for slow burn horror sci-fi rather than big rambunctious action 80s flick, which I think was a smart call with the director's skill set, the sets, and the story they were trying to tell. I don't think you can do a big 80s action film like Aliens, and I think going back to that slow burn sci-fi of the first film was a good call for me. I think it's a very worthy legacy sequel that presents us with a lot of new, fresh problems to watch play out. Like I've said, it takes some extremely big swings, which you have to kind of tip your cap to, that it's willing to really, like, it is kind of mind-blowing, the swings they're taking in the third act. Like, it really does throw you back in your seat. And throughout the film, I think they're just introducing new story mechanisms and new, just like little updates on past problems that, like, yes, we have seen some of these past problems in the previous films, and at times this does feel like a best hits album where we're just kind of going over some of the older things we have grown to love throughout these series. But there is a lot of updating, revolutionizing, and moving on from those previous ideas in new inventive ways, which I really enjoyed. It is a little bit Star Wars The Force Awakens, but with a little bit more pulled back fan service in a way. But I'll get into the fan service and spoilers, because there is fan service. Okay, I'll get into my biggest problems with the film now, and this is non-spoilers. A legacy sequel, I think this is very much, it suffers from legacy sequel syndrome. And earlier this year we talked about Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, which to me did not feel like a legacy sequel, where basically a legacy sequel is where you bring back the old characters and you're handing down the legacy to new characters that are kind of just new interpretations of those old characters. And that's not what Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes was to me. That just felt like a distant sequel and continuation of the story of Planet of the Apes. This, however, does feel like we are unable to escape from the face huggers of Disney and the franchise's predecessors. Sure, we get some new ideas and some really great great problems that our characters are presented and face in this story. But our solutions to these problems are almost all the same as what we've done in the past with this franchise. And it does suffer from the weight on its shoulders of being a sequel of a very successful franchise, because it doesn't know how to get away from that at times, I think, because it wants to please the fans at the same time and balance new ideas. But perhaps, I don't know. I think the fan servicey aspects are very hit or miss based on the individual. I personally feel like there was one fan servicey aspect of the story that I didn't mind, and then there was one particular moment that I just really, I don't know, I didn't really care. I just felt like undeserved. But look, having said all of that, that's really my only issue with the story. That's why, I think we had possibly a phenomenal Alien film on our hands, but it's just kind of bogged down in the past of the franchise. But however, this was a wonderful cinema experience. Like, this is why we go to the movies, other than people annoying the shit out of me in the theater when they're talking and going on their phones. Like, I hate that, and it really does distract you when you're watching a horror film. This was totally worth every penny of IMAX. I would watch this in IMAX every day for the next month, because there's so much visually, design-wise. The score is really great and effective, and just the mixing of this film is so great. I think the editing is really great. Pacing's awesome. This is a really immersive film that you can enjoy. And Fede Alvarez did say you don't need to see the other Alien films to enjoy this one. I don't know. I think you would be a little confused watching this film if you haven't seen the other Alien films. I do think this does rely on the lore a little bit of the franchise, specifically taking place between Alien and Aliens. Having said that, a really fun time, and I gave it 4 out of 5. I would recommend it. If you like the Alien films and you're hesitant about seeing a new Alien film, I would go see it, because it is rewarding as an Alien fan. And if you just like horror films or the Alien genre, the Alien species themselves, not the Alien franchise, if you like Alien and space films, I think this is a fun watch, so I would recommend it. Now let's get into spoilers. Okay, we're in spoilers. If you don't want things spoiled, go ahead to what else I watched. I talk about lots of stuff there. Okay, gotta have a sip of my bubbly. Well, first spoiler I want to talk about. Ash is back. They are dealing with another version of Ash. So, you know how there's, what's the synthetic human's name in Aliens and Alien 3? How there can be multiple versions of one synthetic human. Well, we have another version of Ash that's on the Romulus and Remus ship. I think that's the other ship, the two sectors of the ship that are connected to each other. Well, Ash is back, and he's kind of a villain, or he is the villain in this film. He's kind of like 2001: A Space Odyssey, this AI enemy of our protagonist, and he starts messing up Andy's functions and gives him new directives, because they give this new microchip to Andy so he can have control of the ship and access all of the doors, and Ash starts messing with him. Now, they don't go down the route of Star Wars Rogue One or X-Men 3 and just do a de-aged, what's his name, Ian Holm, who plays Bilbo Baggins in The Lord of the Rings, and Ash in the original Alien. They don't go down that route. What they do is, I think they have an actor that they do a face scan of, or they have a prosthetic, animatronic figure that they're controlling, and then they CGI over that. But it wasn't just like a fake person there, and they weren't de-aging Ian Holm himself. I think they used other actors and CGI'd on a face, or they had a robotic Ash that they can control. That wasn't the fan service that threw me, though. I really didn't mind the fact that they brought Ash back. If it were me, I think another synthetic. I don't think Ash really needed to be on that ship, or a lookalike to Ash. I think his name was Rook in this. To me, I probably would have gone with another synthetic human that they find and connect, but I think they wanted to dive into the fan servicey aspect. So look, I didn't hate that portion. It didn't throw me off, but it reminded me of Blade Runner 2049 when they bring the woman back that was the replicant that Deckard falls in love with in the first film, when they bring them back in Blade Runner 2049 and they CGI'd their face or whatever. Yeah, I don't know. I had mixed feelings about it. It is fun to see, and it's cool that there is an Ash kind of replica or whatever, or another synthetic human. But to me, it just felt kind of like, why? We could just have another synthetic human that's presenting them with all of these problems and is an enemy. But it just seems like they kind of wanted to rely on that first Alien film to buy tie the fans in. So yeah, I don't know, mixed feelings on that. But I do think like the Ash thing, or not even the Ash thing, because if it was another synthetic, it wouldn't matter. I do like Andy's directives being changed by the microchip that he's gotten, because you think he's going to get, he's just going to get access to all parts of the ship, and yeah, that's great. Okay, like yay, our heroes can succeed now. But no, his directives change to do whatever's best for the company, like Ash in that first film. So I really like that twist, that Andy, we grow to love him throughout the story, because he's kind of challenged as a synthetic because he's not as developed his AI. You kind of grow to love him because he's flawed, but he really loves everyone and he's trying to do his best, and he just has to do it a little differently, but he's still good at his job. But I do think that twist really worked with Andy. I think that was a really good problem that they've introduced to this story of, like a new stake that they've introduced to the film. And I really do like the themes of abandonment in this film. So Rain is basically, you have to work on this mining planet until you earn enough hours to get shipped home to wherever you're from, or you go wherever you want to go. And she wasn't going to take Andy with her, because if you take synthetic humans off planet, you can get arrested, or they get arrested, or whatever. It's revealed to Andy from the other characters, from Bjorn, whose mother was killed by a synthetic human, and that's why he hates Andy so much, which is another really great twist that I enjoyed because it explains a lot of the behavior. But there's a lot of themes of abandonment in this film, where Rain is going to abandon Andy, and later Andy is going to abandon Rain and is going to abandon others, even like gets Kay seemingly killed at one point, but not. So I really liked just the revolving theme of abandonment throughout the film, and eventually Rain is going to escape to get Kay back to an escape pod, and realizes because Andy's in the basement of the ship getting attacked by a xenomorph, and he has an issue where if he gets hit really hard, he has to reboot. And I really like Rain finally redeems herself by saying, no, I'm going to go back and get him. So that was just like a really nice payoff for that theme of abandonment that we get throughout the film. Having said that, back to fan service. Andy has the worst line in the film that I felt was extremely undeserved, and I kind of rolled my eyes at. He drops down the elevator shaft and saves Rain from a xenomorph, and it's actually kind of cool. It goes like zero gravity, and he rides a xenomorph because the gravity comes back, so he ends up just riding the xenomorph like a surfboard down to the bottom of the shaft and shooting it. And he says, get away from her, shoots a bunch of bullets and kills them, and then says, you bitch, because he doesn't know like how to vocalize sometimes. And it just felt like, really, how would he know that? And technically Ripley hadn't said that yet, because that's in Aliens and not Alien. So that felt like not only a continuity issue, or like a weird, like, is that a regular phrase in this world that people just kill things and say, get away from her, you bitch? It just felt very undeserved, and I was not a fan of that. And that was one of my biggest quarrels with this film, of like that type of fan service that just feels unnecessary, but also illogical. It doesn't really help the story. And I like the raised stakes of those anti-gravity purges, but also they have a countdown that they're going to get sucked into the ring of this planet and basically get crushed by space junk. So although the film is a lot of just retracing steps from the first Alien film and resurrection almost step by step, I do like the raised stakes of anti-gravity purges, the countdown to getting sucked into orbit with the rings, and they introduce xenomorph human mutation hybrids successfully being done, which leads us to Kay. The character of Kay is pregnant in this film, which is a really interesting storyline and has an amazing payoff. So we realize at the start of the film, or kind of like, I don't know, when she kind of gets first sick on the ship, she throws up, and Rain's like, oh my god, are you okay? Like, you don't seem sick. And she's like, yeah, I'm not sick, I'm pregnant. Well, at the end, she gets stabbed by a xenomorph when Andy abandons her, but they rescue her from one of the eggs in the basement. They say, okay, we just got to get you to one of the pods that we're going to escape on. And I guess they've been experimenting with the xenomorphs and injecting or combining human xenomorph genes so humans can become fast healing and get all of the good traits of the xenomorphs in the humans. So she stabs herself with this injection that not only like slows her or starts to heal her, but her baby inside is a new xenomorph human hybrid, which was just a huge swing in this third act. And I was absolutely blown away. They take such a big swing. We see the birth of the xenomorph from her. Kay is absolutely going through it, but that birth scene was gnarly, and I seriously do respect the swing they're taking. If I'm not wrong, that draws more on the Prometheus prequels, because there are human like xenomorph hybrids, or where the xenomorphs come from. But again, they're raising new problems for our characters, and new stakes are being introduced to this world, which I really enjoyed. But in the end of the film, it's Rain being chased down by this big, ugly, disgusting xenomorph human hybrid. Maybe it can be called Humamorph. That can be the new nickname. Everybody on Reddit calls it like Big Chap or whatever. It's really ugly. But again, we just do what every other Alien film does, and we decompress the pod or whatever and eject the xenomorph into space. And it's just like, really? We're just doing this again? This feels just kind of like a best hits album at times, and it can be a little tiring. But because of the quality of the filmmaking and the performances and the designs of everything, it feels rewarding, and I do enjoy that aspect of it. But yeah, there is a lot of big swings being taken in this film, and I think there's a lot of great deaths as well. It's not too gory. Everybody on the crew dies except Rain, and I guess Andy can come back because he gets his throat slashed, but he's a synthetic and could probably be fixed. Kay, I'm not sure if she dies. I can't remember. Yeah, because the human xenomorph is like feasting on her. But yeah, really great. I do think there could be a sequel in the future to this. I think Fede Alvarez could come back for a new Alien film, which I wouldn't mind. I think if they do way less fan servicey stuff and draw on past films, and they just stick to this new what's going to happen to Rain and this new injection things or whatever, or maybe her life on her planet now that she has escaped. I don't know, but this was a lot of fun. I gave it 4 out of 5 on Letterboxd. I would watch it again. It's close, honestly, to a 4.5, but it's just the fan servicey stuff just bugs me a little bit, because it just feels unnecessary and could be new characters instead, but they just go back to the older ones because it's the easier option. So I don't know, but look, I had a lot of fun with Alien Romulus. I would recommend it. There's tons of spoilers to get into in this film. There's so much to look at. It's such a quality film, but let's move into what else I watched. All right, what else I watched? First of all, I finished Batman the Caped Crusader episodes 6 to 10, so the rest of the season. I really liked it. I think it doesn't reinvent the wheel completely, and I don't think it reaches the heights that Batman the Animated Series did, but it's really fun. And I actually like the reinvention or the redesign of a lot of the characters to the Golden Age. Like, particularly Catwoman's costume looks really awesome. Like, I like how it's like the Adam West series. I think, I was a little skeptical when the first trailer came out about the guy voicing Batman. What's his name? I can't remember his name ever. He's from the mansion, Haunting of Bly Mansion or whatever, Bly Mansion. He was really great as Batman. I think he actually does a very solid young early days, or not young, but like inexperienced Batman, which I really like. I like the direction they took with Harvey Dent over the whole season. I like that we got Rupert Thorne. I think Rupert Thorne is such an interesting Batman character, and I'm shocked that we've never really done him in live action, because we've always done Falcone in both the Dark Knight trilogy and like Maroni and all those guys instead of Rupert Thorne. I think it was a really fun season and very fun show overall. I liked his relationship with the Gotham Police Department and Jim Gordon, Barbara Gordon. I really liked how they changed Harley Quinn from like the classic high-pitched caricature instead to like this, she's a psychiatrist throughout the entire series. A spoiler, they do tease Joker for season 2, so I'm really excited for a season 2 of the show. It was just really fun, and I like that it was like adventures every episode, but it did have an overarching story of Harvey Dent turning into Two-Face. The choice of time period that they chose of like that 1940s golden era Batman from the comic books is just really cool and really fun, and it's just like got a really grittiness to it. I like the design of all the characters. There wasn't anybody that I was, oh my god, how could they change? Like, I didn't get outraged when they turned the Penguin into a woman. I think Oswalda is a very uncreative like renaming of her. I think they could have done a little bit better on that, Bruce Timm and everybody, but it was a very well made show. The animation, it's fine. I'm not huge on the eyes of Bruce Wayne, like those weird blue eyes that look kind of scary when he's not in the suit, but I do think the animation is better than the Tomorrowverse, which last night I just started Crisis on Infinite Earths, the DC animated stuff, and I started part 1, and I really don't like the animation. They have a lot of bold black outlines on the characters to look like the comic books, I don't think it translates well. Batman the Caped Crusader, I'm really excited if we get a season 2, which I do think we'll get a season 2 because they tease so much in the show. And I did finish Batman the animated series as well this week. I finished season 4, so I actually watched season 3 and season 4, so that's like 48 episodes of television or 56 or something like that, like something crazy. I think it's like 28 episodes, 22 to 28 episodes per season. Season 1, 2, and 3 are really fun. And I think when they started to change to the adventures of Batman and Robin and the new adventures of Batman and Robin, I think when the animation and redesign of everything happens, the stories kind of are less interesting and less fun. It feels a lot more generic and current day DC animation stuff. But Batman the Animated Series is just so much fun. Like I said last week, I love seeing the creativity over 28 episodes. How can they just come up with a fresh idea every episode? Old TV is so interesting. Like I'm young, or I'm old enough to, when I was growing up, TV shows were still 20 to 25 episodes a season and came out every single year, and you didn't have to wait 4 years between TV seasons. So it's just very interesting to see the creativity and the storylines, and okay, we really need to stretch out this storyline, or, some episodes would be part 1, part 2, and I just think Batman the Animated Series is such a fun show if you want to really see the rogues gallery explored and really see, I love when they do like origin stories of certain parts of Batman, or the time Barbara Gordon found out that Bruce Wayne is Batman, and it's really fun. I think Batman the Animated Series is just so solid, and I had so much fun watching it because I've seen so many random episodes on TV, or when I was a kid, I had like one DVD with 5 episodes from season 1, and it was just really fun to see the rest of the series and how that kind of rounds out. And the season 4 creative choices to change the animation to go along with the adventures of Superman, I don't think it works, and I think creatively season 4, it is good that they stopped after that because the stories feel much less unique and much more generic and kind of watered down. But both Batman the Caped Crusader and animated series, if you want to watch both of those series because you are a Batman fan, I would totally recommend. But let's get into a couple movies I watched. I watched Trap. What a wild movie. I actually had so much fun. If you don't want to hear any spoiler, actually, I won't say any spoilers. All I'll say is I really think it's such a fun premise for a movie to trap a serial killer in an arena. I think it takes maybe a few too many twists and kind of stays longer than it should. Like, those movies that feel like they have 5 different endings all in the film? I think that's unfortunately Trap's issue. I think it's like 75% of an amazing movie, and then the last 25% you're kind of feeling, okay, where is this going? I feel like we've been here a little too long. Josh Hartnett is like, I can't tell if he's really great in it or he's kind of giving a bad performance, but at the same time, I think he is kind of brilliant in it because he's playing like this over-the-top dad who's all, oh yeah, sweetie, I love you so much, blah, blah, blah. Like very saltine crackers, you know what I mean? And I think it's such a fun movie, and the performances are very interesting. I mean, M. Night Shyamalan's daughter plays a singer in it, and we're at the Lady Raven concert. The songs are actually kind of good. I was like, oh, these are kind of like Olivia Rodrigo songs, and they're on Spotify, so I might actually give them a listen. But no spoilers, but at one point she comes into the story, which is really interesting, and I won't say in what kind of way, but she is like pretty solid for the most part, but I think she does overstay her welcome, and I think the movie does drift away from the father-daughter dynamic too much and becomes less interesting when it gets away from the father-daughter aspect and just focuses on Josh Hartnett and other characters in the film. Trap, if it's still in theaters where you are, I would totally recommend going to see it. I would probably go see it again. I think it was so much fun. It's a movie that when it comes on streaming at home, I'm absolutely going to watch it again if I don't see it again in theaters. And speaking of streaming, I think it's going to do extremely well on streaming because like just the premise itself, the FBI and police lure a serial killer into or a father is taking a daughter to a music concert and slowly realizes that the entire concert is a trap for a serial killer. And the twist isn't the fact that he is the serial killer. That is not the twist on the film. So Trap was a lot of fun. I would really recommend it to people. If you're looking for a pretty low stakes, like fun movie outing, you don't need to watch anything else. It's very original. I think just the concept alone is so sellable of trapping a serial killer in a concert and the things you can do in an arena. I had so much damn fun with it. I think I gave it 3.5 stars or 3 stars out of 5. Like it was really fun. And it felt like 3/4 of a very great movie movie. It was just in the end, I was like, okay, I feel like we're just spinning our wheels here and we don't really know how to wrap this up, or we don't know when to wrap it up. But it takes a lot of swings that are really fun, and everything in the arena is just as fun as you would want it to be. Trap was really great. I also watched Borderlands this week. I went for the cheap Tuesday night movies. Absolutely terrible. Honestly, I had less fun watching that than Madam Web, because at least at Madam Web, I was laughing at how bad it was because there were pieces of dialogue that were like so bad they were funny. But Borderlands, I don't think I really laughed once. I mean, I don't know. I can't really call back any parts that I actually thought were funny. Like Claptrap was kind of really annoying. All of the characters, I posted in my TikTok review that everybody in the film feels way older than these characters should be. It feels like we're seeing these characters at the end of their career based on how old all of the performers are. And that's nothing against like all the performers. I think they're all very good, competent actors, but everybody feels like really old in this movie. And it's like, I feel like we should just be meeting these characters when they're young if you're setting up a new IP. Like, it just feels like this movie is 15 or 10 years too late, and the performers all feel really tired in it. Like, the movie doesn't feel creative at all. It just feels like a total ripoff of Guardians of the Galaxy. The dialogue is so bad. The jokes are just so stupid. It's really not a funny movie at all. I mean, like, the CGI is fine. Claptrap, the 3D model is actually amazing of Claptrap. Like, the CGI of Claptrap is so good. And the artist was on Twitter talking about how they're literally not credited in the movie, despite like 3 years ago they were working on that model. It's just pretty wild how big of a dumpster fire that film has been. Borderlands I would not recommend, but Trap I would definitely go watch because Trap was so much fun. Borderlands was just torture to see, and I hated it so much. I rated it 1 star on Letterboxd, and it is the bottom of my 2024 list. Like, I actually found it worse than Madam Web, and I didn't think we could reach lower lows than Madam Web. What else did I watch this week? I watched My Adventures with Superman, the season 2 finale. Really fun. The Supergirl stuff all felt like it really wrapped up really well. I'm excited to see where season 3 goes. I didn't watch any of the Comic-Con panel. I only saw the Superboy pictures, so nothing is really teased, but I really liked all the Supergirl and Superman, Clark Kent and Kal-El and Kal-El stuff and Krypton, and like, it's just a very fun, well-written animated show. I like the animation style a lot better than the Tomorrowverse stuff that I started watching. I find that animation style really bland and kind of boring, and it just looks like it's trying to rip off the comic books. But yeah, that's what else I watched. I actually did manage to watch a lot of stuff this week. I don't know what I'm going to watch next. I think there's a few movies in theaters. Next week, I'll talk about what I'm seeing next week. I might actually watch the Terminator movies. I've been also wanting to watch all the Avengers movies again just because of the Comic-Con stuff, but I haven't got to it. I think I might do the Terminator movies next. I feel like that's what I'm going to watch. I might watch also the first original Crow movie before the new one comes out next week. But yeah, that's been what else I watched. And I think that is going to do it for episode 31, Alien Romulus. What did you think of Alien Romulus? Have you seen it? What did you like? What did you not like? Do you feel like it reinvented the franchise at all, or was it just kind of staying the same course? Any big swings you particularly liked? Where does it rank in the franchise for you? I'm curious to see or hear people's rankings. And thank you all for the great messages after the Alien episode last week. I've been getting lots of people asking. I love when people text me for like recommendations of what to watch, but also I love when people are like, hey, I listened to your podcast and I've never seen those movies before, so I'm going to go check them out. That's really fun to me as well. So you can always help the show as well by rating and reviewing 5 stars on all of your streaming platforms, whether that be Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Acast. Rate it 5 stars, leave us a great review, and your review could be read on the show in a future episode. You never know. We are also on YouTube. Like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you know every Monday when a new episode drops. Share the show with your friends, share to your social media, hook other people into listening to it. Go see a movie and then you say, hey, this person had the same thoughts, or, oh, listen to this guy's dumbass opinions about this movie. How could he think that about Alien Romulus? Or, oh, Borderlands was the best movie ever. How could he think that about Borderlands? Share it with your friends. It helps the show grow with engagement. When you rate it 5 stars, share it, like it pushes it with that YouTube algorithm, baby. You can actually get in touch with the show via email, watcherofallthings@gmail.com. Let me know what you've been watching this summer. What have you been enjoying? enjoying? Are you reading any good books? What do you think of all of this It Ends With Us drama with Blake Lively and the director? Blake Lively is just not having a good time PR-wise. Oh my God, this is some of the worst promotion I've ever seen for a film. This is giving Don't Worry Darling vibes. But yeah, email the show watcherofallthings@gmail.com. You can also follow the show on social media on TikTok and Instagram, where I've posted my Borderlands review. The TikTok is watcher.of.all.things, and the Instagram is just @watcherofallthings. Follow on both of those, go like all the videos, and comment on them. What did you think of Borderlands? Comment your random questions or whatever you want me to watch, your recommendations. I'm also on Letterboxd with my personal Letterboxd account. That's KikiJ70, KIKIJ70, KikiJ70 on Letterboxd. You can see all my reviews and my lists there. I'm also on Threads. I never really use it, but if you want to follow because you don't have anybody that's following you or you're following on Threads, let's link up on Threads, man. Yeah, next week, I don't know. I'm thinking The Crow and Cuckoo, the new Hunter Schafer movie, and then the Bill Skarsgård Crow movie. The Crow looks terrible, but I'm kind of curious to go see it. And Cuckoo looks pretty fun, and it's a good horror movie, apparently. So yeah, I'm looking forward to checking both of those out. Thank you all so much for listening. Let me know, what did you think of Alien Romulus? What did you think of all the things you're watching this week? Get in touch with me. Yeah, I'll see you next week for episode 32, The Crow and Cuckoo. I'm thinking that's what we're going to do. We're winding down in summer. That's kind of depressing. Thank you all so much for listening. I hope you have a phenomenal week, and I will see you in the next one.